expressed any view regarding the abolition of executive powers. The Prime Minister says that the presidential election will be held in line with the Constitution. Permission of the Ministry of Defence is compulsory for retired armed forces members in applying visa for Russia. The University Grants Commission requests the non-academic staff to report for duty, ending the strike. India records the highest temperature.
And we move on to those and other stories in detail. And in your top local story tonight, President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that any candidate who is scheduled to contest the presidential election has not expressed any view regarding the abolition of executive powers.
He made this comment at a meeting held at the President's office with What's New youth legal professionals.
My question would be in regards to the loopholes of law. So all of you have prior experiences in regards to the law. I'm sure you all know that the process is very time consuming. What are the causes of the loopholes and how have they changed over the course of time?
If there are no loopholes, you won't have a profession. You make your money on loopholes. There's a young lawyer, he was the third generation. Those days they were proctors, instructing attorneys, who came and told his father, Tata, I have resolved this issue which has been going on for so long. This case has gone on for long and long and long. I have solved it. And the father said, you damn fool, your grandfather lived on it, I lived on it. I thought you were going to leave it and pass it on to your son. What have you gone and done? That is the essence of law. No, loopholes is no law can cover every situation. So whether it's a written law, unwritten law, like the Roman Dutch law, there will be gaps. So how do you fill it up? That is where the law comes in. Your whole study of the law is not merely to it, but are there loopholes? Now if you are a criminal lawyer, you will try to see what are the loopholes to get your accused out. So it gives you a good mind, fine mind. Second thing is you learn to think standing. While you are addressing, there's something on. While you are addressing while you are cross-examining, another one gives an answer. So law and its loopholes is basically the way it's. Anyway, in the old days, before there were lawyers, you went and pleaded before a king or some duke or someone, and he said, this is the law. So that is how the law was made. And different ways. In the Caucasian chalk circle, the duke said, if you two are fighting as to who's the mother, my decision is that the child be cut in half. Then one woman came and said, don't do that, give this child, I am the mother, give this child to the other person. Then the judge said, you get the child because you are the mother and you felt the pain of cutting the child up. That way there is always going to be loopholes in the law. We try to conform to law. Sometimes law sets down a procedure. But everything is not done the same way. So then you have to keep arguing. So it's not loophole. Don't say it's a law. When it's applied, there are gaps. The law basically is also a mix of what is written down and what is unwritten.
In your experience where policies, national action plans fail, can you share with us some of the reasons you think, some of the oversights you feel result in those failures?
The problem is most governments don't have policy. How many have come on very substantial policy changes? 77 years we did that. Then the war has been the main issue till 2015. No? So there were no policy. That's why we suffered. Our economy, our system didn't change to the war. War had taken a big toll on our economy. We virtually collapsed in 2001. Then you had the tsunami. And when the war was over, we didn't have any plan because everyone wanted to win the war. And after the war was over, we still talked of the war. So the first time we had a look at it was in 2015 when I was able to ensure that we had a surplus on the primary budget, didn't go beyond that. So when this came, it's not surprising that this happened. I mean, if at all I would ask why it didn't happen 1 or 2 years earlier. But that's a lack, because we are still an import-dependent economy. What is the policies? What have we done for agriculture? From the time of the Anuradhapura kings, we were exporting either grain or cinnamon or tea, rubber, coconut. After 1948, we opened up land under Mahaveli and Galloya. But what is the policy for agriculture? So now we say we have no other option but to modernize and build it into an export economy. Till 77, till we push for getting investments and free trade zones, we had nothing. And then we just stayed. Because we stayed, the others overtook us. Thailand was with us, they went ahead. Malaysia went ahead. China, when it started in 78, per capita was below us. Vietnam, Bangladesh. So at some stage, firstly our politics must focus on policy, on education. What a crime the A-level is. And then people don't start universities because someone starts shouting, you are doing away with free education. Country needs this thing, we are giving loans to everyone. And then you go abroad and pay millions of rupees just to get the same degree. I paid 105 rupees to get LLB. If I went abroad, how much would I have to spend to get the same thing? So we have to change the country and change it fast. With AI, all that coming in, we just can't. In this race, we are behind. Main thing is to get ahead. That is the main thing we have to do. I am 75, so I have seen most of it. You all belong to Gen Z. How much? 25, 30? At least you can bet for another 40 years. So what do you want the country to be? What rate do you want? That's what you all have to think. What do you want your future to be? What is it that you want? You all have to think very much. What are the areas you are going to develop? What are we going to do? Otherwise everyone else is going to overtake us. So that is policy.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says that the presidential election will be held as scheduled according to the schedule of the Constitution and the Election Commission. The Prime Minister made these remarks at the opening of Martin Vikramasinghe collection of documentation and archives at the museum in the Sri Lanka National Library today. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that the Election Commission has informed that the presidential election must be held in the period from September to October this year. The Commission pointed out that they are preparing to conduct the election accordingly. The Prime Minister said that the government will not take any action to reverse the current schedule due to ground-based political factors. The Martin Vikramasinghe Birth Anniversary Memorial Lecture was delivered by Professor Jayadeva Uyangura this morning at the National Library and Documentation Services Board. Dayapala Jayanthi delivered the special invitees lecture. A statue of Martin Vikramasinghe and many items he had used are in display at this museum.
Chairman of the Tamil National Alliance parliamentarian C.V. Vigneswaran says that President Ranil Vikramasinghe should be given another period of 2 years. He made this comment at a press briefing held in Jaffna. He states that the government should be continued to prevent another economic crisis in the country. Otherwise, having a presidential election and electing a new president would lead to have new economic policies in the country. This may lead the country again to an economic crisis. Therefore, 2 more years should be given to President Ranil Vikramasinghe to continue his economic policies. And meanwhile, a lecturer at the Kothalawala Defence University who was arrested over a statement made about 4 Sri Lankans with suspected links to the terrorist outfit ISIS who were arrested in India has been granted bail. According to the police, the lecturer who was arrested by officials of the Criminal Investigation Department today was granted bail by the Fort Magistrates Court. The police said that the lecturer was arrested for having allegedly made a false and controversial statement during a televised interview recently. His comments were about the 4 ISIS suspects who were apprehended in Ahmedabad last Monday. Flowing about treatment uncovered by local authorities, Indian media reported that terrorist activities were reported targeting the city's airport as well as the Narendra Modi Stadium, which was hosting Indian Premier League matches. Indian media reported that the arrested Sri Lankans were alleged members of the National Tawhid Jamaat, the organization accused of carrying out the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks in Sri Lanka.
The permission of the Defence Ministry has been made compulsory for retired members of the armed forces in applying for visa in Russia. Russia and Sri Lanka have jointly taken this measure to prevent illegal human smuggling to conscript Russia-Ukraine war. A discussion between Foreign Minister Ali Sabri and Russian Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Levan S. Sagarian, was held in Colombo today. The two envoys focused their special attention to prevent human smuggling operating in Sri Lanka to send mercenaries for Russia-Ukraine war. The two parties have agreed to maintain these activities with utmost cooperation in future.
Vasant Samarasinghe of the National People's Power says that any possible debate should be conducted between the leaders of National People's Power and the Samagi Janabalawege. He made these remarks at a media briefing held yesterday. Vasant Samarasinghe said that now the people are thinking with whom the debate will be held. A group says that the Sajid's economic policy should be changed. Then Nalaka Godeheva says Sajid follows the economic policies of Harsha De Silva. It is said that Sajid has not signed for the economic policies. Therefore, in a rift between Nalaka Godeheva and Harsha De Silva factions, the society has rallied round with the National People's Power. Therefore, real debate is a debate lying in front of the people. As S.M. Marikar had stated, this is not a war.
The Gurudev Suarana Buddhist Monks Treatment Centre, constructed at Kirivatturuva in Homagama, is to be declared open on Saturday. A media briefing in this connection was held at the Government Information Department today. Minister Dr. Bandara Gunawardena said that Venerable Pittigala Sonathara Nayakathera has initiated a program to construct a state-of-art 5-story hospital for the benefit of Mahasangha. He said that Venerable Thera initiated the hospital project with modern and highly developed facilities prevailing in the developed nations, and specially according to a South Korean model. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized the need for a comprehensive plan to exploit renewable energy and explore future trends in green hydrogen in Sri Lanka. He made these remarks during the Advancing Energy Transition Roundtable discussion at the Hilton Colombo this morning.
The event, held in collaboration with the World Bank, the Ministry of Power and Energy and the Ceylon Electricity Board, provided a platform for discussing the country's energy transition. President Wickremesinghe highlighted a recent report by PricewaterhouseCoopers on green hydrogen, nothing it's important, and the necessity for detailed planning to leverage this emerging sector. He acknowledged the gaps in local organizations such as the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, and all stakeholders, including the local and international investors.
As we are emerging from bankruptcy, Sri Lanka is now focusing on a new economic framework, a transition into a highly competitive, export-oriented economy committed to achieving net zero, an economy committed to modernizing agriculture. We have already started the work, but now comes the planning stage. What are the new sectors of the economy? What are the energy sources for Sri Lanka? And this is where the green energy, green hydrogen comes into the picture. The role of green energy in the Sri Lankan economy. We have sufficient potential to emerge as a player in the field of renewable energy. Sri Lanka's own dry zone and its potential for wind power is such that we have identified this sector for rapid development. It's also in line with Sri Lanka's commitment to achieve net zero. As I said, 2050 is too long. Let us try and see whether we can do it by 2040. And we are working on this. So let me now outline for you the steps we have taken. We have already brought in the energy reform bill, which was okayed by the Supreme Court about 2 days back with a number of amendments which the ministry finds acceptable, which means this bill debated in Parliament and to be passed. Second is the economic transformation bill, which has already been tabled in Parliament. Most probably there are challenges with the Supreme Court, and certainly by early July this should be the law. So this is two of the legislative enactments that fall into place. Then we will also be looking at two other pieces of legislation. One is the Climate Change Act. The Climate Change Act is being drafted, and that is one that's the third piece of legislation. Fourth, which we have to discuss, whether we need energy transition legislation also. Some countries have energy transition legislation. We've also looked at some areas such as the South Australian. It may be useful for us to have energy transition legislation. One is we are going to a new sector, we are opening it up, and not merely power generation but power distribution. We'll have the private sector playing the lead role. So it's going to be private sector driven. There's no other way in which we can achieve our targets by 2040 or for that matter 2050. The Ministry of Finance will also work with others, the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Power, on a green finance policy. So the green finance policy will also drive us. So these are the components that we will have for the transition into green hydrogen, into using renewable energy. Next comes the issue of green hydrogen and our potential for green hydrogen. It is estimated to be about 40 gigawatts, can be more. There's also the other issue that has come of how do we safeguard the bird life in the Mana area. I think in my view this can be done and it should be done. Nevertheless, there is a heavy potential for green hydrogen.
Road reconstruction work in various provinces in the island has been expedited under the project to develop 1,500 kilometers of roads. Accordingly, the reconstruction work of the Asiruyana Road close to Mikura Ayurvedic Hospital in Homagama was launched under the patronage of Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena today. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the Sri Lanka Railways especially face numerous difficulties due to the economic crisis in Sri Lanka. He said that there was a delay in purchasing railway tracks and other hardware related to uplift the railway service in Sri Lanka due to the economic crisis. Meanwhile, development and carpeting of the road from Halgamulla Junction in Vellarava to Digamulla was launched recently under the patronage of State Minister of Mass Media Shanta Bandara.
Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Senior Professor Sampath Amartunga request the non-academic staff to report to duty immediately, ending the trade union action. The higher education that has been stalled for over 2 years due to COVID-19 epidemic could be further disrupted due to the strike. He points out that this is a matter to be saddened. The strike started by the non-academic staff and the executive grade officials of the state universities has passed 25 days at present. Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Senior Professor Sampath Amartunga said that the salary issue and related grievances of the non-academic staff of the universities as well as other relevant services has been considered by the President and the government in a very serious manner. Therefore, the President has requested the relevant authorities to initiate a formula to resolve those salary problems and forward proposals for the next budget. Professor Sampath Amartunga said that University Grants Commission takes the issue of non-academic staff very seriously and taking steps to resolve the problems. He requested the non-academic staff to end their strike and resume work as the students in Sri Lanka face numerous difficulties due to the problems related to their education. Professor Sampath Amartunga pointed out that already the students sit for exams which were scheduled to hold previously than the current exam schedule.
Labour and Foreign Employment Minister Manoj Nanakara announced that the Cabinet has approved a proposal to provide social security benefits to all workers aged 55 and above across various industries. This initiative includes the preparation of necessary legal provisions which will be developed alongside the Garusara program. Addressing the press briefing titled Collective Path to a Stable Country held at the President Media Centre today, Minister Nanakara highlighted the government's commitment to social security and labour rights. Minister Manoj Nanakara said that the Cabinet has approved a proposal to provide social security benefits to all workers aged 55 and above across various industries. He added that this initiative includes the preparation of necessary legal provisions which will be developed alongside the Garusara program.
ගෞරවයක් නැති වෘත්තීය සමිතිය හදන්න බැරි පින්තාරුකරුවන්ට ත්‍රිරෝද රථ රියදුරෝ බස් රියදුරෝ මේ සියලු දෙනාට මේක හරහා ලියාපදිංචි වෙලා ශක්තිමත්.
The first export order of the revitalized paper company in Abilipitiya was sent to Bangladesh today under the participation of the top management of the Abilipitiya paper company. Abilipitiya paper mill is the first paper factory slated to join with the Sri Lankan government. It has been closed for a certain period of time and the productions were restarted since the 18th of April this year. The paper mill is now operating under the name of KSPA Abilipitiya Paper Mill Private Limited, affiliated to the KSPA Packaging Private Limited. This mill has been able to manufacture 120,000 metric tons of industrial paper within the country, which was earlier imported annually. Chairman of the Abilipitiya Paper Company, Anuradha Abhirathan, says that a large number of foreign orders have been received to the company at present. Stay tuned for international news after this break.
Prima Kotumi, Pantamai.
Welcome back and taking a look at overseas news tonight. People in northern India were struggling with unrelenting weeks-long heat wave, with temperature in India's capital soaring to a national record high of 52.3 degrees Celsius, the government's weather bureau stated.
The India Meteorological Department, which reported severe wave heat conditions, recorded the temperature in the New Delhi suburb of Magnishpur today afternoon, smashing the previous national record in the desert of Rajasthan by more than 1 degree Celsius. The brutal weather forces schools to close in several cities and raise the risk of heat strokes for people working outdoors. The extreme heat also coincides with the 6-week general election, increasing health risks of people waiting in long lines to cast their vote. New Delhi authorities declared a warning of the risk of water shortages as the capital shelters in headache-inducing heat-cutting slippers to some areas.
Foreign media reports that United States does not believe Israel's recent actions in Rafah amount to a major ground operation that could cross a red line for President Joe Biden and trigger a possible change in United States policy. A spokesman, John Kirby, addressed reporters hours after Israeli forces reached the center of the city in southern Gaza and reportedly seized a strategically important hill. United States President Joe Biden recently stated that he would limit weapon supplies to Israel if it entered Rafah's population centers, where hundreds of thousands of civilians were still believed to be sheltering. Israel said that the strike targeted and killed 2 senior Hamas officials and that it believes the fire was caused by an explosion at a Hamas weapons store nearby. The United States State Department expects for the Israeli military to conduct a quick and thorough investigation into the strike.
The European Space Agency launched the Earth-Care satellite on the Falcon 9 rocket from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, with the confirmation single about the satellite's orbital status coming from the Hartsburg ground station in South Africa.
The European Space Agency.
The mission was a joint venture between European Space Agency and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and was designed and built by a consortium of more than 75 companies under Airbus as the prime contractor. The European Space Agency's Earth Cloud Aerosol and Radiation Explorer, or Earth-Care for short, will help address the increasing climate crisis by providing crucial information to shed new light on the complex interactions between clouds, aerosols and radiation within Earth's atmosphere. The Earth-Care satellite was now receiving control from the European Space Agency's European Space Operations Center in Darmstadt, Germany. As a result, the controller will spend the next few months carefully checking and calibrating the mission as part of the commissioning phase.
Prima Kotumi, Pantamai.
Welcome back, and in your sports news tonight, Sri Lankan team was defeated from the first warm-up match of the T20 World Cup cricket tournament played against the Netherlands. The match was played at the Lord Hill in USA.
Batting first, the Netherlands team scored 181 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in this 20 overs. Dilshan Madhushankar claimed 2 wickets. Wanidhu Hasaranga, Mahesh Deekshana, Matisha Patirana and Dushmantha Chamira did not bowl in this game. Prize Sri Lanka team only scored 161 runs all out in 19 overs. Wanidhu Hasaranga scored 43 runs in 15 balls. Dashun Sanaka not out for 35. Sri Lanka team will play the second warm-up match against Ireland on the 31st of this month.
And with that, we wind up tonight's English news on Rupavahini. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time. I'm Kasani signing out together with Charita. Good night.
Good night.